Alright team, it's time to make our 4th healer.
Oh, that's wonderful. I actually have a lot of ideas.
Wow, yeah, me too.
Then let's hear it. Well, you see, sir, I already drafted up a plan for Chemist and it's really—
Next!
But sir,
No, and if anyone mentions Chemist again, you're fired. You, what do you think?
Well, I mean, since you took away the earth spells from White Mage, I was thinking of maybe Geomancer?
You sicken me.
All of you pathetic little worms. Doesn't anyone here have a good idea? Doesn't anyone understand my vision for this game?
Hey, hear me out. I have an idea for the new healer.
Yo, what?
Have you ever even worked on healer design before?
Huh? Oh no, I'm actually a Dragoon main. I've never played healer before in my life.
Wait a minute. You said you've never played a healer before?
See? Get out of here.
I don't know what you were thinking.
Well then, you're perfect for the job.
What?
Are you kidding me right now?
Cool beans, dude.
So hear me out. I was thinking, we got a lot of magical looking healers, right? But you know what we're missing? You know what would be really sick?
Keep talking.
You ever heard of Gundam before?
Yeah?
So what if it shot like lasers out of these 4 little metal things? Yeah. And we called them like, I don't know, Nulis or something?
Consider yourself promoted, Daddy.
What in the name of Satan, Lucy? I know you're not doing a dumb little level 90 thoughts video because that's so off-brand and absolutely no one gave you the right.
Exactly.
No one gives me the right, I take it. And if other YouTubers can milk this type of video for views, then I can milk it for—
Subtly ranting about the entire healer role in Final Fantasy XIV because the design decisions don't make sense to me and I wish more people would notice that instead of just making memes because honestly something I used to love playing is now dead to me and
Anyway, Sage!
Have you heard of it?
It's pretty poggers!
By the way, I am absolutely not the authority on this job, not even close. I'm barely mediocre at it, but that doesn't mean I can't fill your brain with all the cringe takes I have about Sachi. So with that in mind, let's begin.
But wait!
I am a YouTuber, and that means, yep, you know the drill.
Please subscribe or Susan will activate the shock collar again!
So in case you've been in a coma for the last 10 months, Sage is the new barrier healer in Final Fantasy XIV. It's got some sick laser beams and wings that make it 10 times more stylish than the other healers. Maybe even 10 times more stylish than 90% of the other jobs in general. Some may say that's up to personal preference, but those people are just cowardly little DPS who are afraid to admit that Sage is prettier than their puny books and swords.
Psst, this is the part where I let you know that I'm not being serious and you comment that I'm toxic anyway.
First things first, the job quest for Sage was pretty good. Probably. I don't really remember. There was a bunny boy character, so I was distracted playing with one hand the entire time. So to give the benefit of the doubt, I'll just assume it was top-notch and I'll give 5 out of 5 stars on the writing there. Beautiful job, devs. You really know your audience. Sage is very similar to Scholar in terms of gameplay, as you will be relying heavily on your off-global cooldowns to keep everyone alive and will immediately start pissing and crying if you have to cast a single GCD heal. As with Scholar, if you are at the point where you're spamming your only single target GCD heal, the tank's death is only a matter of when, not if. Unless your tank is a warrior, in which case this was all according to plan, and you may as well log off and delete your character because they don't need you. Those of us who accept these terms and conditions enjoy playing a strong healer, as long as no one makes more than 3 mistakes at any given time. Because recovery on this job is not easy. I can probably count the amount of times I've been able to save the entire raid from multiple deaths and unnecessary damage with Sage on, one finger! Granted, the expansion is new, and I'm not a master of the Sage kit or whatever, but still. This is kind of the price that all barrier healers have to pay anyway. And it is easier on Sage than Scholar, because you can smack the prognosis button like it's going out of style if needed. That's right, because of your Sage Giga Brain, you don't have to wait for emergency tactics to come off cooldown. Yet another way in which the Sage flexes on Scholar. Actually, I think it's time. Let's have a segment right here where I list all the ways in which Sage is a superior Scholar. Caracole is non-targeted, huge radius, and stays on the party for the entire duration without them needing to stand in the uglier asylum. Instant shields on the run, which unlock a fun little DPS option at the end of the wall-to-wall pull. Cardia is the fairy, but with an infinitely higher IQ, and Cardia swapping when a DPS takes accidental damage makes you feel way cooler compared to using Fey Union on them. And finally, the existence of Nulis is the greatest flex of all time on the Codex, which is almost always just a recolor of whatever whatever they wanted the summoner's grimoire to look like. I'm sure there's more, but that would require research, and I'm determined to make this entire video 100% bad and biased opinions from yours truly. Side note though, Scholar is perfectly fine in the meta right now, definitely improved from Shadowbringers in terms of gameplay, and Expedient is actually kinda pog. So I've heard anyway, because I haven't played it. Back to the topic of Sage, almost the entire healing kit is good and makes sense. Pepsis is a little bit weird and almost never needed, but when it is useful, it feels pretty cool to press. I know some people don't like that Phlegma is melee range, but honestly, I'm not about to complain about the tiniest bit of complexity on a healer. Plus, I love the animation. Like, I don't know why I need to spontaneously breakdance to use this skill, but I'm here for it. Actually, what is it with Sage and spinning? Dude, we're just vibing. There's been some discussion about a buff to Toxicon, which would be nice, but I think it's perfectly fine where it is right now, since having it set as neutral potency means I don't feel peer pressured into using my Toxicon stacks during raid buffs. I think it's great as a movement option. As a whole, Sage feels really mobile, particularly with the gap closer. I'll be honest with you, Icarus automatically makes Sage the best healer, and it has nothing to do with potencies or healing potential or yada yada. It's just because nothing will make you feel cooler than yeeting yourself several yalms over to the co-healer who's already standing in the safe spot. This makes it the best healer in the game by default. And no, I do not take constructive criticism. In terms of being a healing job, I think Sage is great and fits in well with the other three. I don't have a ton to say towards the negative, except that maybe Rizomata should give 2 stacks of Adderskull instead of just 1, and if we had the ability to turn off Eucrasia, that would be nice. Can't name the amount of times I've accidentally pressed it out of habit and had to overwrite my dot early, exposing my beta nature to the entire party. RIP to the Sage designers, but I don't have a public humiliation kink. I'm different. Still, that doesn't change the fact that Endwalker has, so far, been the expansion where I want to play healer the least. Now you may be asking, Lucy, if the Sage kit is so fun and you don't have many complaints, then why isn't Sage your main? Surely if you could handle the Shadowbringer's Broil Mage, you can handle Endwalker's Dosis Phlegma Mage. And to that I say, indeed I can, and would, if it weren't for the fact that healing requirements are now so low I mostly feel like a worse DPS that's only there to pick up the freestyle samurai after they die for the 14th time. It's no little known secret that Paladin and Warrior in particular have extremely strong healing options, so much so that you will not need to cast a single GCD heal if they're rotating their cooldowns properly. Sometimes not even 90% of your off-global cooldowns, which will make your expert dungeon runs, even with wall-to-wall pulls, bland, I guess. You could say, well, maybe the extreme will expect more healing, but speaking of that, both extremes have been completed without any healers at all. That's with the mediocre Tombstone gear, by the way, which should tell you all you need to know about the state of healing as of 6.01. Granted, the chances that the current Savage tier will be cleared without healers anytime soon is just a meme, but it's pretty wild that content that isn't even slightly outdated can be cleared minus an entire roll right off the bat. Now, I could be making a huge fool out of myself by predicting this. You will already know if I deserve to be bullied when this video comes out because according to the kindergarten math I just did, the Savage patch went live yesterday as of this video's posting. But you know what? I will put myself in the line of fire anyway just to entertain you humans, okay? So it's time for me to get out my dusty astroglobe and read the future for filth. I highly doubt the self-sustain on Warrior and Paladin will be nerfed that much, and I think Arcane Crest will be toned down just slightly. The only situation in which I can see these jobs being drastically nerfed is if they didn't bother to playtest these jobs at all, which, at least in Reaper and Paladin's case, is unlikely, to say the least. It makes me believe they were well aware of what they were doing when they gave these jobs these skills, and it's reflective of their perspective on healing in general, which is make it easier, because that is apparently what we've all been complaining about. Healing is just too hard. So true. Anyway, some people have been asking why I swapped to Gunbreaker and why I dropped my healing main. So that's my perspective on it. Of course, I'll still play Sage before I play DPS because having an actual rotation makes me take super effective damage after years of just pressing 2 buttons to win. But yeah, jobs like Gunbreaker are fun in between and makes me feel powerful and needed again. That's right, powerful. Oh, how I love to force the other roles into submission. To all of you who still love healing, as always, thank thank you for your service, and I wish there were more of you to make my 30-second tank queue even shorter, because I swear Duty Finder is lying every time it says tank in need. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to terrorizing the rest of the party as I try to level my DPS jobs. It's pretty important, actually.
So you say you want to be a sage. Let me show you how. Grab a pen and page. It all gets a start with a little bit of rage and a lot of wishing you could quit and join an early grave. Otherwise, it's pretty easy and not to be precocious, but most of the time you'll be stuck spamming doses. But that's better than if you're only cussing diagnosis. If you're doing that, well, prepare to pick up corpses. They say Icarus flew too close to the sun, but if you nerf bat me, I'm gonna bring my laser guns. Here's a head start. Let's get going and run, because the reign of the sage has only just begun.